Hello. I can finally say that this is my March wrap up part 2. So, I spoke about some of my March books last time. I have got 8 left to tell you about, which actually no, I've only got 6 because 2 of them, that's not 6, Bekah, jeez. 2 of them I spoke about in a vlog. I will link it somewhere at the top somewhere. So the first book I am going to tell you about was it's not dead, is called Resistant by Erica Modrak. This is YA dystopian virus outbreak type stuff, so it literally should have just even had written for Bekah on like the cover, because this was just perfect for me. Right, so we've got my favourite thing, which is like a community divided, and we've got people live inside like a safe compound, and they are the people who are safe from this virus, or everybody kind of like thinks they're safe, and then the people who live outside the compound are basically like rejects from the community, and they've got like horrendous ways of life, or that's what people think. Inside the community, the leader, it's got all the things that I love. So it's got like a leader who is really like a tyrant, and he's very controlling, and he decides who does what, etc. It's like a fake, like a fake lovely community, but underneath it all there are still people getting sick with this virus. People are dying. People are working extremely long hours trying to find a cure. Then we've got a girl on the inside and a girl on the outside. So we've got 2 chosen ones, and they're trying to one's trying to get inside to see what's going on and how to save her family on the outside, and the one on the inside is trying to get outside away from the controlling government, or whatever you want to call it. I really enjoyed this book. It was everything that I wanted at the time. It was easy to read. It was quite fast paced. The characters were likeable. It was YA. It was dystopian. There was a virus. There were chosen ones left, right and centre. I just loved it. I really enjoyed it. I don't know what it is, but there was something that made it a 4-star instead of a 5, and I'm really not too sure what that is. Now thinking back, it probably might have been a 5-star, but I don't know why I would have put 4-star at the time. There must have been something. But yeah, this is the first book in a series, so I will definitely be reading the rest. Then I read 121 Days, the Corbin Raymond story of overcoming traumatic injuries of some sort. Can't think of the title, it's really long. Picture here, and this is one of the ones that I talked about in the vlog. Absolutely fantastic read. Go over there and see what I said about it. Then I want to tell you about Deathless Divide, Justina Ireland. This is the second book in the Dread Nation duology. Duology, definitely. Although it literally should have been about 12-13 books long, this series, if not more. Amazing. All the stars. It just gets all the stars. Not even just 5, like all of them. Hundreds of stars. I loved, it looks like a bit of a chunker for me. Oh my god, I loved this book. If I could have stayed in this world for longer, I would have done. I can't tell you exactly what the plot is of this book, because obviously that would ruin the first book, Dread Nation. But as an overview, it is historical fiction mixed with zombie apocalypse. It's set in the time of the American Civil War, but there's also zombies, and everybody knows about them, and they're trying to rebuild society. Young black girls are sent away to these training schools where they learn how to fight zombies, and they are then kind of given jobs where they protect the white people from the zombies. So even though slavery is just doesn't exist. It really does, because the black people are being used to fight the zombies and put their lives at risk to protect the white people. So it's still slavery, even if they're getting a few pence for it. It's just fantastic. I cannot explain any better how amazing this book is. If you are somebody that thinks that they might not like zombies and they don't like a lot of gore and violence, I would say try this, because this is very much more about the people and the times and societal issues. Yes, there are zombies, but they're not a major part of the story. Real, well, they kind of are, but they're not. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's a fantastic book. And then we have got City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This is middle grade. I read this for the middle grade March readathon. So I did talk about this in that vlog, but I hadn't finished it by the end of the vlog, so you didn't get my final thoughts. Cass is a young girl. She can pull back the veil between the living and the dead. She can see spirits, she can talk to them. Her family are like famous ghost hunters, and they go to Scotland to film like a haunted TV show type thing. And she discovers there's another person there who has the same powers as she has, but is far more experienced. Cass then starts to learn how dangerous crossing through that veil or whatever, going into the ghostly world can be, and her life ends up at risk. I think this was fantastic. Whenever I rate middle grade, I try and think like when I was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, whatever, would I have loved this book? And yes, I really would have done. I thought this was fantastic. It was like, there was enough in it, especially for adults. Like, there's enough in it for adults to read and enjoy, without thinking this is a bit childish, there's stuff missing, whatever. I really enjoyed it. And I think as an adult looking at this, sometimes children's books can get very unrealistic. Like, the children go off doing all sorts of things that they would never have been able to do normally. I don't know how to explain it any better, but this story was very believable. Like, Cass was just a normal girl. She was sneaking out of the hotel. It was believable that could have happened. And then, you know, she goes up and finds these ghosts. And yeah, it was really, really great. It was fun. It was quick to read. I like the characters. Yeah, I will definitely be continuing this series. I think the next one is called Tunnel of Bones, and the third one has just not long ago been published. I can't think what it's called right now off the top of my head, but I do have it on my wish list. Then the next middle grade I read in March is The Boy at the Back of the Class by Anjali Q. Ralph. I talked about this a lot in that vlog, so please head over there and see it. It was absolutely fantastic. It's lovely and it's heartbreaking, all in one book. I recommend it for adults and children. I actually read this twice in March because I read it for myself, and then my 6-year-old wanted me to read it to him, so we read some every evening before bed. He absolutely loved it. He's talked a lot about it since, referring back to it, like different things that happened or things that he remembered. And yeah, he thought this was fantastic. In fact, he's asked me now, like, if he can go to the bookshop now things are open and we can find some more books like this for us to read together, which is brilliant because he's never been one that absolutely loves reading. So yeah, fantastic. Next up is George by Alex Gino. This is middle grade LGBTQIA plus rep. So George was born a boy. Everybody thinks George is a boy, but George knows she's a girl. And she is like struggling with getting people to view her and treat her as a girl because they just say she's a boy. And so when her teacher announces that for the class play or the school play they're going to put on a performance of Charlotte's Web, George is absolutely desperate to play Charlotte, but people are telling her that because she's a boy she can't play Charlotte, but George knows she's a girl and she would love to play Charlotte. And so it's kind of about like how George tries to get people to accept her for who she is and gets them to treat her as a girl. And she's got some wonderful friends that help her along the way. This was a really, really lovely book. I don't know much about. I mean, I'm not not up on LGBTQIA within children, and especially not middle grade children. So I have no idea whether this is realistic or representative of people's real experiences. I just have to go off other people's reviews, and they say that it is. But even as somebody that doesn't know much about that, I thought this was, to me, this was really well written in a way for the audience that it is intended for. So this is intended for middle grade, and I think it was perfectly aimed at that. The writing was great. I think it's such a complex situation, isn't it? That you know, somebody's born a boy and believes she's a girl, and that is quite hard for even adults to get their heads around, never mind children. And I think that this, like the situation that the book is looking at, was written really well and really clear, and really easy for children of that age to understand. I absolutely really love this book. The characters were lovely, the writing was great. It was just a really nice fun book, but also something that's got a great message behind it and something that teaches us things. So I'm really going to try and get my two boys to read this at some point. But yeah, I ended up giving this a 4-star. I really liked it. Then I listened to the audiobook of Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is the true account of Chanel's experiences of being sexually assaulted by Brock Turner at a college in America. And then also she goes on to talk about the, I guess, her experience within the justice system and the healthcare system and things like that, that sexual assault and rape victims have to go through. And it was quite hard. It was difficult to listen to. It was quite hard. It's quite frightening knowing that people go through that. And it was just, I don't know how to explain it. It was just not nice at all. And it's not supposed to be nice, but what I mean is, when somebody has gone through something like that, something absolutely horrific, like, they are then dragged back through it all, and I guess like mentally and emotionally punished even further by the system that is supposed to be helping them get justice, or to, you know, lock away the person who assaulted them. Chanel talked a lot about what she was expected to do. It wasn't just a, you know, you are a victim and we are going to get this guy. She was literally ripped to pieces by the prosecution. She had to have like very intrusive medical examinations done, and she was like, she had her character brought into question. She had her family brought into question. They were accusing her of making things up, accusing her of not remembering stuff and just guessing, and it's horrible. I think it's just horrific. It's one of those books that you just have to read or listen to. It's just so hard to explain. But there were a couple of things that I thought brought it down from 5-star to 4-star, and that is not any kind of judgment about Chanel's experience and, you know, what she's gone through and how brave she was to speak out and write this book and, you know, lead like a kind of campaign against people who are doing this to women. Some of the things didn't quite translate well, I don't think. And I think specifically for audiobooks, because there was a lot of repetition, and I understand that Chanel was trying to show that she was stuck in one place, or that she was asked the same thing over and over again, but it just didn't quite work out on the audiobook, it kind of felt a little bit like, you know, back in the days when records used to get stuck on the same bit and it was kind of jumping on the same word, and it felt a little bit like that, and that kind of like drew me away from the story she was trying to tell us and the message she's trying to give. So unfortunately I ended up giving that 4 stars, but yeah, it's one of those you've just got to read yourself. And the last book that I want to tell you about is Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan. This again is middle grade. We've got a young girl called Willow. She's 12 years old and she is an actual genius. She also seems like she's possibly on the ASD spectrum somewhere. She struggles to fit in. She's very, like, she's obsessed with learning about nature and diagnosing medical problems. And she lives with her adoptive parents. Now, one day her adoptive parents are killed in a car crash and Willow ends up going to like a foster family. This story is about how Willow, with her kind of neurodiverse perspectives on things, manages to cope with the loss of her parents, the uprooting of her life, you know, massive changes in her routine, the support system around her, things like that. I'm not going to tell you too much, but she manages to not only cope with all these things, but to affect other people's lives in such wonderful ways. And she's just such a lovable character. Like, even the oddness about her, you know, when she's struggling to fit in with her peers and, you know, other people, it's just endearing. It really is. She's just fantastic. And it really got to my heart when there were scenes where she was really struggling with her parents' death, and, you know, she didn't know how to deal with that information or how to deal with the feelings inside her, and that was like horrible. It was really heartbreaking. But this is such a fantastic book. I was devastated when this book ended. I loved it. I loved all the characters. Now, I've looked at the reviews after this book. I gave it 5 stars because, as I said, I also think about how I would have enjoyed it when I was that age, and I definitely would have loved it, and I loved it now. So it was easy 5 stars for me. But when I looked at the reviews, there were some people pointing out things that didn't quite make sense with the plot, but the things that as adults we would be like, hang on a minute, that just doesn't sound quite realistic, or doesn't quite make perfect logical sense. But again, I want to say this is aimed at children. It's aimed at middle grade. So, you know, you've got to kind of mentally, like, allow yourself to skip over some things that don't quite make 100% sense, because they're not for you, these books. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this. Like please go and give it a try. It was really great. And that is all the books I have to tell you about. That is my March wrap up done finally, towards the end of April. So thank you for watching. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down below, or if I've inspired you to go and read them, then please comment and like and subscribe, and I will see you all soon with another video.